All right. Hello, everyone. We are back once again. It is Measured Response. I'm Jeff, aka Ysengrin, and I'm joined by Safer. Say hi, Safer.
Hi, Safer. Jeff, do you know what your channel description says off the
Oh
top of your
no.
head?
Oh no. Uh
Uh-huh.
oh boy. Something about occasional thoughts about
It's very
Netrunner.
short.
Um and
Oh,
maybe
that's pretty
something about
close, actually.
single-sided
A
Swiss.
channel? No single-sided Swiss comments. 'Cause
Hmm.
you've won that one. So, channel for highly sporadic Netrunner content.
Okay.
We
That
missed a
does.
week. I don't
Yep,
know if that
yep.
puts us into the highly sporadic category, but
Yeah, it
we're
it
back.
very well might put us into highly sporadic. I definitely it feels highly sporadic
We
when
only
we
missed
miss
like
a
2
week for
weeks,
me
okay.
now. So
That is true. It did feel like a very long time for me. I was like, "This feels weird."
yeah. Ooh, I'm
Been
having
too
some
long
fun.
since we've yapped on the internet about Netrunner.
Yeah, it has been too long. My internet is apparently having some fun problems, but you're coming through clear and the recording is good, so we'll just keep doing this, and hopefully things will sort themselves
Mhm.
out. Uh, I don't really want to. Maybe I can. Oh boy. Yeah, we're gonna play with some things in the background, but keep the recording going, I think. Um, so yeah, I want to thank everyone who submitted questions. We got a bunch of good ones. Next week, I'm gonna try and actually play some Netrunner on JNet, do some and or in between now and next week's episode, and then Safer and I will make fun of past Jeff as I make mistakes trying to play. I'm gonna probably commit to not playing Arasana so that I play some kind of reg decks, and we can do some replay takedowns of Jeff play. And then if you want your replays to be submitted for um, probably more constructive and gentle feedback, we'd love those too. My
A little
audio
bit
also
too,
just cut out. We're having a
which
great
is
time.
sad. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how things go.
Yep. My audio
Hopefully.
should be back now, but boy. Hey Eric, I hope the stream is almost watchable. I'm seeing a ton of dropped frames at the moment, but don't know exactly what's going on different this time than 2 weeks ago because everything should be the same. But let's get on to questions, and this will be recorded, and it looks like uneventfully via as a podcast episode for people to listen to later at least. Um, any other actually okay? Did I forget? Did I walk over your bit on channel podcast channel descriptions beyond the sporadic?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. How's your last two
No.
weeks been? We usually do a little how you been thing. So
Yeah. This is good. I was traveling, so got to break up the normal habits, but tired, and I think last night was the first full like and good night of sleep I've gotten this week. Um, yeah, so I'm glad to be back. How about you?
it's been an interesting period. This weekend I got to go to my twin niece's first birthday party. So that was a lot of fun. And Calliope took some of her first steps this week that we got to see. So that was a lot of fun. She's going to be in the highest percentile of that, but it's been a lot of fun to watch her become more and more both intelligent and mobile as the weeks progress. So that's been a lot of fun. Um,
Watch out, she can go everywhere now. You're gonna have to
yeah.
watch her even closer.
Oh, and
Um,
also the weekend before, I went to a business casual CTK, which I forgot to dress up
what?
for. But one of the locals, Kevin,
What?
ran a business casual CTK using alt arts from Mansion Runner, an event that it's been on hiatus, I think, the last 2 years, but was an event where in New England where people get together, and one of the nights would be a team event where formal wear was recommended. And so he had made some alt arts with some of my friends doing a business deal and used that for a couple of different alt art cards,
Oh,
and
that's
so
so
made it a
funny.
business casual. And we had people showing up in business casual attire, and the top prize for each faction was a tie that matched the color of the faction and had a faction emblem sewn into it. Um, and
That's what that is from.
yeah, it
I've
was
seen
a
that photo
yeah,
somewhere.
it was. They were really cool and were not announced ahead of time. And I was like, oh, I should have brought a different. I brought Jinteki and knew I wasn't going to be the best Jinteki player in the room, and shot myself in the. I was like, oh, if I brought Wayland, maybe there's a chance I could be the best Wayland player in the room. Uh, so, or if I
Man,
had
I
just
could have
brought
brought my
any
synapse.
yeah, anyone who brought an NBN deck would have automatically been the best NBN player in the room. No one
Well,
brought NBN
I don't
at
know.
all.
Epiphany is good. Look,
Um,
Epiphany is good.
Epiphany is fine. Yeah, no, I think Epiphany is probably good, or at least good enough
Epiphany is
in
good.
things. Oh yeah, one day we'll need to have a discussion at some point about uh, player skill disparity on the sides and how that impacts balance. But we'll let someone ask that question, I guess, as a prompt.
Sure.
Because we got a pretty full set of questions to hit to today. Um, so should we move on to the first one?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so this one comes to us from Groblin. They sent us actually three questions. I thought this one was maybe the uh, one of the easier ones, or one of the more interesting ones to talk about, especially, um, which was why do generic agendas exist? I feel like they are typically patches to fix problems with agenda suites in each faction, and they are the biggest problem child cards in terms of the diversity of the game. I feel like the lessons from GFI, Off, Cybersand, and others should be that generic agendas aren't good for the game when you can avoid using them to patch holes. Uh,
I can start with this one if you want.
yeah, that'd be great while I figure out how to turn off Slack notifications.
Sure. So, I think from my perspective, I start with like what is the role of neutral agendas from a very logistical perspective,
Yeah,
where you can only print so many cards, and agendas are the most restricted card type because they cannot be imported into other factions according to the game's rules. So neutral agendas serve a very like relevant purpose where you can print one and you give a new agenda to all factions rather than needing to print four unique cards um, to allow people to have different agenda suites. So, for example, System Gateway, by its design, like to allow corporations to actually build an agenda suite, has almost exclusively neutral agendas. Um, the so that's like kind of the logistical aspect of like you know we print a set number of cards per set, and having a neutral agenda goes pretty far. I think from like a general design perspective,
can I
I
talk
think the
about
neutral
something else
agendas.
in the logistics as
Sure.
well, just like to drive the point home a little bit more, right?
Sure.
uh, Agendas, like
Go for it.
you always have to have, well, I guess technically not always, you have to have at least three unique of them in any given deck. And they're also super they're like, I forget what the right word, but they're kind of like limited at the same time. Like they're both necessary to have enough of them, but also the like, because you are only going to have 3 to 4 of them, the fifth one you print is like a blank card in a lot of cases. Like they're very restrictive and tiered in a lot of ways. And so if you like commit to never printing a neutral agenda that's going to like solve a problem, it's like, okay, well, now I have to print four four copies of that problem solving card, um, which is just like, it's a lot more pieces of cardboard, it's a lot more testing, and it might even be a less elegant solution, for that particular problem, I guess, is part of the like
Yeah, this
spell of the
kind of goes
logistics a
into
bit.
like what I was going to say from the design perspective of. Oh no, give me 1 second.
All right. Um, I also, it's funny. It's like, oh, we're naming like GFI off Cyber Sand. Maybe the other one I would think of that's like a game warping neutral was NAPD contract. But like at the same time, like I don't see people complaining about, you know, oh goodness, uh, shoot. I guess Let Them Dream is also complained about, but what's the superconducting hub?
All right.
Send a message, like priority requisite. Like, there's been a lot of neutral like agendas that have been totally fine. Um, like, so yeah, I don't know. I think there's,
Yeah,
I might say like, so, like yes, some of the most powerful agendas ever printed were a problem for the game. That they were also neutral is something to note, but I don't think like short of like giving off to a faction that doesn't need the money, which I can't think of it, or GFI to a faction that doesn't try to score, like those cards are also just would be good in any, even if they were faction locked. Um, but
yeah, totally agree. Sorry about that. A phone call decided to hijack my headphones. So the the thing that I was going to say about the design is that like sometimes you do just want a generic effect. Like send a message is a fairly generic effect. Off is a generic effect. Um, like the problems with off are not that it gives credits. As an agenda that gives credits, it's like the method and the amount, right? But like
yeah,
I don't think
corporate
corporate
sales
sales
team, which
team, for
yeah
example,
gave
is a
actually
card
more
effect that we
credits,
would go
but
like, wow,
yeah,
this is in neutral, so like this is a problem.
yeah, exactly,
But over 5 turns or whatever, right?
yeah,
Um, so like I think the neutral agendas are there to have generic effects. Like if you had some sort of like very specific kind of effect, it would feel like a specific faction, and then it would feel out of place within the game. So I think that neutral agendas have like a good. I don't know. You don't want every single agenda in your game to just be incredibly complicated and incredibly nuanced and feel like a specific faction, um, because you want players getting into the game or just players that have been you want players to basically be able to recognize some of the cards, you know,
yeah,
and not have to remember literally the entirety of the card pool. So like even for people that have been playing for a really a long time, or people who are incredibly established, like it is helpful to go into a matchup and like a matchup that's maybe unique and the person's playing something that's off meta, but they're still playing like an off-world office or something like that, and now it's a card that you don't have to like engage with it and read. It's not like, oh, I have to read Project Yagiuda, and now I also have to read um Hyobu, and now I also have to read
yeah, Flower
what's
Sermon, and I
another
have to read
Flower Sermon. Thank you.
yeah, and Lotus Haze, and like yeah, you can have these stacks and stacks of like weird effects, and making some be generic and simple has a lot of benefits.
Yep. So yeah.
Oh man, can I make this part of my crusade? We should have more one influence ice so that you see some ice more often. Um,
I mean, I already
but
believe that. I'm 100% in the I want more one influence cards, especially one influence ice.
yeah, um,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess yeah. I think like neutral agendas like I also like sometimes yeah you just need to boost the power level of corpse as a whole, and neutral agendas are just a great way to do it because agendas are so game defining, and like having something that they can all play with I think is interesting. I think like to me there's a world of Netrunner that's like I think a very like basically system gateway kind of gestures at this, where it's like, oh, you have a neutral set of core agendas, and then you have the splashy thing that the corporate the in faction agendas do that like tilt how you think about the other agendas. And like I think that's like a way to square the like you want the factions to feel unique, but also not make the game like like I don't want to have to learn 36 agendas just to play standard if we can achieve a similar amount of variety. If it's like, oh, it's more like I have to learn 4 neutral agendas and maybe, you know, 8 other agendas rather than, you know, a bunch, you know, or something, probably less than that, right? But exploding numbers of agendas kind of things. I think I said way too many numbers there, but um, yeah. But talking
Yeah,
about high power neutral agendas, do you think we should move on to the next question?
it's a great segue.
Yeah.
Meether with another banger question.
Yeah, Meteor coming in hot now that Alco, well, actually, you know what? Alco is back in the meta, so we get to, well, hopefully we'll steer into some wild Meteor takes soon, but this was, I thought, a really good question and like a good perspective, which is just how do you feel about the consequences and results of introducing Let Them Dream so far? Then they give us 2 paragraphs, which I'm going to read because I thought they're useful discussion points. On one hand, it's definitely succeeded on the stated goals of reducing corp volatility, especially in early turns where they lack the agency to defend themselves, as well as mitigating the severe power of cards like the Deep Dive or Twinning, which could provide inevitability to the runners to win the game on fewer agenda steals. I enjoy the decision it presents when you score it, and it has some unique play patterns such as install advancing to bait the runner contesting a fake 5-3, or giving the spare click to jam that next agenda. On the other hand, I have grown increasingly frustrated with the other direction in the other direction with Let Them Dream. It leads to frustrating and lopsided agenda suite risk and rewards. Cards like Regenesis, Megapre, or Myoshu, as examples, create extremely lopsided game states where the corp is not risking nearly as many points as they are potentially threatening or scoring. To some degree, this was needed to be a good thing, but I feel it's gone a little bit too far on top of adding massive variance to accesses. Uh, 18 accesses could be 7 points or 3. When the runner has upwards of 5 agendas, whereas the corpus running goes on 2 to 3, I feel like it's leaned too extremely in the other direction, and as I feel as a result, we've pushed runners even harder into remote can't be lockdown end games. Um, so yeah, that's Meteor's question.
Yeah,
I
great question.
maybe yeah. Question and thoughts, I guess.
And great framework. Yeah, yeah. Question and thoughts. Like. Okay, so in writing, this is 2 paragraphs, and I just basically entirely agree with the first paragraph, where the positive, like it's definitely succeeded on its stated goals, and it also like helps mitigate some of the like severe power of like deep dive and twinning that made it so that corpse just kind of lost on centrals all the time. So I definitely feel like it's achieved its goals, which is like really exciting. Is doing so in a way that I didn't necessarily foresee, where if we're going to use Global Food Initiative as a comparison point, Global Food Initiative really wanted to be paired with other 2 pointers. I said other 2 pointers. Really wanted to be paired with 2 pointers. And Let Them Dream really wants to be paired specifically with 3 pointers and 1 pointers. And that is also actually a success from like a design goal standpoint, because one of the things that I really wanted to do with this agenda was to make sure that players had a unique experience and unique like deck building like problems to try to solve. I didn't want us to just put out like, oh, we have this like problem, let's just like put out a card effect that's like Global Food Initiative, just because that is like a known solution. There's nothing like interesting to discover about it. Like it's just basically like living in the like we can like revert the game to like some portion past with like with new with a new card pool and like other context surrounding it. Um but it definitely has, as a result of being like paired with 3 pointers and 1 pointers, it has this like sharp experience where sometimes you run into a lot of the 1 pointers or 3 pointers that are harder to steal. And then so like the agenda suites become very resilient. Um, More so than the current like power level of cards is really like there's not a lot of depth and variety in terms of how you can try to solve that problem. Um, and I think that for here for a second if you have thoughts, because I still need to fully form this this next one.
Yeah, I no, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think I it is one of the things I definitely felt coming out of playtesting was one of my concerns was how it interacts with one pointers and decks that like want to feed you things. I don't know. I think it's the difference from GFI is like much bigger than I thought. It's almost one of those things where it's what's the word I'm thinking of? Like it is while it is decreasing the variance
You're
overall
like,
for corpse,
it
it's like
indexes more on like steel triggers, right?
yeah, index more still. I guess the other thing I was sorry, I don't know if you lost me for a minute or not there. I it makes the individual it like decreases variance
I
as a
did,
whole, but
but
somehow
that's okay.
spikes the variance locally, I guess, a little bit. Like in the individual game feel sometimes where it's like, oh yeah, I hit a 3 pointer, and so the Let Them Dream is like
Right.
good to like the Let Them Dream is basically dead, or oh I hit like 2 Let Them Dreams and like it's basically I didn't steal a second agenda, and that's like a huge like it feels even though the effect is like consistent on average, the variance almost feels heightened, even though it's a variance decreasing card, which is a little bit funky. Um,
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So like I think that part of the negative like feels about like around this agenda are tied to like some of the other cards that tried to achieve similar things but did so in a way that like is probably just like less healthy. I think Mega Pre-Qualifier is a perfectly healthy card, so I like that one. No complaints there. Um, but like, oh god, what was the card called? Nightmare Archives. Nightmare, the purple one,
yep,
the
yep.
purple
Nightmare
trap,
Archives is correct.
right?
Yep.
Like that card is, yeah, like that like amplifies kind of like the downside of it amplifies like some of the feels bad, I think is what I'm trying to say here.
Yep.
Um, and then corpse can better intex into like getting a lot of steal or stolen triggers,
Yeah.
and that can then like that is also usually associated with like not negative play experiences, but like harsher play experiences, you know, like your futs and your magistrates and stuff like that. Um, like because that's where like most one pointers want to live, and that's where this agenda's like power is, right, is like in it being 1 point for them and 2 points for you. So if they're taking it, then they're adding up more of like the steel triggers. So I think that's kind of like where it feels like things have gotten a lot harder for the runners to like I guess a lot spikier for the runners.
Yeah.
um but I think that if it was just like, you know, a reg PD, like rush PD list with that, like I'm not exactly sure it would feel that same way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of the things Meteor poses it as like, oh well, runners now have to remote camp. And to me, I mean, this is the like Jeff hasn't played enough Netrunner to have a real intelligent opinion, but to me, it almost feels like Let Them Dream is incentivizing me to go the opposite direction, because if they corp just jams
Yeah.
Let Them Dream, like I'm going to lose that exchange. Like the game was balanced such that, but prior to Let Them Dream, right, that it was like, oh, a Rush PD, a Glacier deck, like if I could bust the remote once, maybe like I only probably need to bust the remote once to win the game. And now, oh, there's a lot more permutations where I bust the remote, steal, let them dream, and my odds of busting it again to like lock up a win are like zero now because I sold let them dream rather than a real agenda, so to speak, right? So I would
Yeah.
almost want to lean more
And so I
towards
think
exploiting the early game and centrals and things.
I agree. I think like Doomrig Anarchs are present because of the Anarch card pool, not necessarily because of the corpse pushing them in that specific direction. I'm not particularly convinced you can build any other kind of Anarch at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I mean, I think some of it is. Yeah, I don't know that the game is in an interesting state. I think at the moment, for sure, and like Let Them Dream definitely has a big part in shaping that landscape. Uh, though I don't like. I think it's. I don't know. I'm pretty positive on the shape it's done. I think the like shaving of runner inevitability was quite good to have. Um, and I think it's like there's going to be some adjustment, and it's like a little bit still small card pool problems to me. I think. Oh, Daria shouting out Essa, which I think is a good shout of an
I
alternate Anarch deck,
mean, yeah.
and I think actually probably a pretty relevant one for sure. Um,
It is. It's just its own mini faction.
yeah,
Let's be
yeah.
real.
Says so. You're right, because Seb was totally not a mini faction in Anarch either. Um,
Mini faction. Look, you have. Okay. Well, real quick, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
have Anarch and the Companions, and you have the core set that is Ashes, right? And that has just a ridiculously high power level for Anarch to the point where all future things needed to do something that didn't directly synergize with Ashes, which then meant you only have mini factions in that faction.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think that makes a lot of sense. And like
Yeah.
criminal, I think almost is suffering. I don't know. The runner factions, I feel like all have suffered from their windows of success. Where it's like, oh yeah, criminals, we can't keep printing good red crim cards because they'll just they'll take the best one from every set and just have the most reggish crim of all time. So let's build mini faction here, there, and everywhere. And then their only exciting card from the last like 2 years is Hermes. Um, I guess actually that's a little bit unfair to
I'm
uh,
sorry, what? Clean getaway transfer? Come on,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Pinka
That's
Seal is playable
I will give you
neutrally,
transfer
though.
and clean getaway. Though clean getaway then loses points immediately for being a slightly better dirty laundry. So it doesn't feel as different. Like you basically just dirty laundry rotate. Oh, here's clean getaway right back in its place. But
I would say that the card is still meaningfully different in some ways.
yes.
Um,
Anyway,
and it feels good as a blue card. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I
it's
completely
very
forgot that
good as
Dirty
a blue
Laundry was
card. It's very
neutral.
very good as a blue card. Um,
Well, I just meant if like feels wise. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. It's
I don't miss it being neutral,
yeah. I mean
which
it's
is
it
interesting.
is a case where it's like yeah, the cleaner text I think is great. I maybe
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like I
yeah.
also agree that like it feels more criminal. I do is a card where I wonder how the game would look if it was one influence. Like probably worse, but I'm not sure. Um,
You know what else I wanted to be one influence? There's a lot of simple cards that I was like, "Hey, can we make this one influence?"
yeah, yeah,
And I, I'm less confident on Clean Getaway being one influence being the
yeah.
correct
Clean
choice.
getaway is one that I do think
I'm
is
not sure
definitely
that would
like
actually be
a little
correct.
risk. It's like oh yeah, great now criminals have a really or sorry not criminals
It's
anarchs have a
borderline.
really easy splash and stuff. But my RE decks would sure love a one influence clean getaway. They would really love it. Um,
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Let Them Dream and its you know uh any other thoughts on like the frustration of lopsided game states of risk reward for the two sides?
No, we can go to the.
Okay, fantastic. Um, this one I actually don't have a
I
ton of
didn't
thoughts
want
on,
Bite to
but
be one influence.
uh
Not
that I
Bite.
think we should at least talk about. Which was this one comes to us
Nothing. I
courtesy
think
of.
that there's a little bit of delay going on.
Oh, okay. Yikes. Uh,
You go.
Okay. This question I don't think I want to talk about a ton, but I figure it's worth talking about because it was honestly more the vibe of 2 weeks ago when we were going to record than this week when we did record. But with the rise of the new PD combo deck and mega magic combo peaking, uh, this Hexnet was talking about making some kind of rule, and they felt like the way their proposed solution would be to, um, they said, assuming these type of decks are not in the spirit of Netrunner and not in the spirit of organized play, my proposed solution is a game rule to limit the number of clicks that can be gained to a turn to 9 for a corp and 12 for a runner. So basically, both sides can have them at most 2 times more than their starting clicks, and went through some examples. What are your thoughts on this approach instead of card bans each time a combo deck emerges? I will say, like, one of the thing to me, a problem with a rule like this is someone
So I would say that for this,
oh,
sorry, it's the delay thing.
yep. Okay. Let's
I blame
see.
your internet.
My internet is
You want to go
sure
first, or
cooking me today.
should I?
I'll let you go first. He says very riskily, realizing I can't actually hear Safer right now.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna go first. Oh no. Okay, great. Yeah. All right. So I think that this exact implementation, I understand. Like you're like, hey, you get to have twice the amount of clicks, or 3 times the amount of clicks that you could in theory start with. Um, it sounds clear for someone who is like super into the game and plays all the time, and intuitively has like a fundamental understanding, like our framework of understanding like what 3 clicks for a corporation means. But my like generally speaking, what I found in game design is that you should try to remove all of the restrictions and limitations like this that you can. So, for example, in a games have gotten very accustomed to hand size. So, like, oh, you have like a 7 maximum card hand size or whatever, which I think actually primarily probably is proliferated through Magic more than anything else. Does become like a 5 maximum hand size now, and more. What I found is that those should be cut from games as long as it doesn't absolutely break something. Like, let players have fun, let players do the thing. If you find that you needed to have a maximum hand size in a game that otherwise doesn't need it, the question is why. So the fact that we're talking about corpse or runners taking like 60 clicks turns, my question is why? Like, how is this a thing? um and in both of the cases, the answer is they're supposed to be limited based off of the economy, right? And both things are unlocked by in the groove in one case, um and flop slash ydl in the other case, right? There's like, you're not supposed to be able to value nano management. That's not the thing that you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to value play 4 nano managements in a single turn for 16 credits, right? You should in theory go bankrupt, and it probably should be a bad play. So I don't think that we should be looking at this as like a, wow, people are getting so many like clicks in a turn, so we have to like put this kind of like hard limit on the number of clicks that people then have to remember, and it's its own rule. And like, you would show up to a tournament and then have to count the number of clicks and be like, okay, well, I got my 11 click turn, and that's legal, but not like my 13 click combo turn. So yeah, I think that it's better to look at it as like a, what's going on, what's causing the ability for these turns to go so long. Um, and I do think they're kind of 2 separate cases, whereas like In the Groove was designed pretty much, I think, to be a combo card. Like, maybe it wasn't, but like no one's playing that thing for value. Um, like, just like you play it and then you install 3 cards during a single turn. Like that card has only ever been played and used for like extreme combo cases. And in the PD list, I think is just a unique combination of factors that was really taking over the edge more than anything else, in my opinion, by like Simulation Reset being like a one-click 5x archives memory to make things really, really consistent when you get to the bottom of the deck. Like it's reminiscent of like Power Shutdown combo. Like these are like very, very specific things that I think just happen to be coming together at the same time and are actually very unrelated to one another. And I don't think they're even like reflections on like the philosophy of like where things are in the game right now. It just so happens that, yeah, like we have 2 combo decks come up at the same time.
Yeah. No, I agree that they're kind of different things.
When's the last time there's been a real combo deck?
Prior to like this little stuff, like
Yeah.
2017, I think. Like you have to go. I don't know. There's been a
Yeah,
true
that's
combo.
crazy.
Like you could art like Hive Mind wasn't a combo deck. It was maybe close. Yeah, it just wasn't a combo deck. It was a synergy, like a very high synergy deck, but it wasn't a combo deck in the sense that these decks are combo decks where they're looking to like do a consistent set of actions that win the game on a single turn, right? I think it's something like 2017 for like cold ones. I think it's like the last combo deck I can true. Oh no, that's not true. Well, Pincell's 2019 Asa deck was pretty close to a combo deck that was doing. You would score an FCOM and then you would Dedi Rikoko 5 points with the following turn, or at some point soon after. So that was fairly combo-y. Oh, and Mad Combo
Yeah,
People
Mad.
count out. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, so what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think like I agree with everything you've said. The other thing I will say is I don't think this rule is like it's essentially unenforceable because Netrunner players already can't count to 3 or 4, so making them count to 8 or to 9 and 12 seems impossible. Um, like, yeah, it's like not gonna call anyone out specifically because like this was an innocent mistake. There's a like a recorded cut game where turn 1 the corp just says click 4 does an action, and like the judge who was watching and both players missed, and like you just there's not a habit that other players have to consistently count clicks, and so enforcing this kind of rule, it just like from my perspective is just impossible at this stage. In addition to the in addition to like the unestheticness and unintuitiveness of the rule. um so um yeah, I think that was my big thoughts on this. It's also part of the reason like I don't like OP solutions of like time limits on turns and things, because no one's sitting there with a stopwatch timing at the start of every turn kind of stuff. um, all of those things. So yeah, I think it's like generally if there's a combo deck that's doing things that don't fit the vibe of the game, well then there's clearly a problem with the cards, and that's the place to go and look at it. Um, but yeah, let's go to a very different question. Um,
Yeah,
this
apparently
one,
I'm just in a very mean mood today.
um, this is going to be this comes to us from McCaber, which for the longest time my barometer for the is this a good meta was, is Toll Booth a good card right now? Now that Toll Booth is rotated, what other card should I set my standard by? Um, I think, yeah. Actually, Safer, I will let you go first, and then you can explicitly hand off to me when you're ready for me to chime in.
Oh, I definitely understand the logistics of this, but oh boy, do I not have an answer just yet. But I'm going to come up with one. Um, so
I
I
could
think that
vamp for a
what?
little bit if you'd like.
Okay, first off, okay, you go.
Okay, so I want to say like I think Toll Booth being a good card right now. It's funny. It was a card that I feel like was. I mean, maybe this is what McCaber means, but for me, it's like Toll Booth fell off for a long. Like it was relevant, but it wasn't like a good card for quite a while in FFG. While I still thought the game was good, and also it was not. Toll Booth was not the most played card for a lot of NSG eras and metas that I think were also quite good. Um, but I do think like it's an interesting card where it's like, oh, when it's a. I mean, I also think the when Toll Booth was at its best, it was interesting because it was a high strength ice that was kind of universally expensive, and it was like good because as a corp it was painful to res, as a runner it was painful to hit, and it was painful to deal with long term. So it created some really interesting dynamics. I don't know that there's a card that immediately springs to mind that like fits all those same roles right now. I think MIC to me might be my like a close barometer for me of like an interesting card where it's like this is a card that is painful, like the res cost is high enough for the corp that you don't just snap res it, and it's not so taxing to the runner that they go, oh, this is impossible for me to get over, and creates some interesting moments of like you're thinking about and playing around the card. So even though like I don't didn't mean to pick out another code gate, I think maybe MIC might be my pick for a similar. Is this card a good card? And maybe good card doesn't even mean meta defining; it just means a consideration when you're building a deck. Um, but I think that's going to be my vamping on Toll Booth and a good card barometer.
I have. Okay, so my answer is Regolith mining license. Um, I think. I think that Rego is like you don't want it to be like the premier format economy card, but you do like
Startup.
kind of want to live in a world where Rego, hey, what's wrong with look, don't you hate on my Regolith, my load bearing Regolith mining license. Like I think that if that card shows up as like a one of or two of in some lists that need additional money, that's probably a good sign, right? I don't want it in every single list ever. Um, it's probably a bad sign if it's like 3x in like every single corp list. Like that's probably like it's just like saying like the game might be in like two of a power level spot, or like something else is like weirdly is going on, or assets are too good. Um so that's I think like the first thing that comes to mind for me in terms of like a corp card that like
I think
gets to be a good barometer. But I think
that's a
what's
great.
really
I think that's a good
interesting
shout. Um,
about Mhm. Yeah. So what I think is most interesting to me about like Toll Booth example is that one, it's a corp card, and two, it's a piece of ice. And I think that's actually like the crux of this thought experiment, right? Is when like slightly underrate, not clearly broken ice is playable, then the game feels good because that says so much about the rest of the game, right?
yeah,
Um, you don't want ice to be unplayable and to just be paper thin and walk through. You don't want it to be so compressed where people are only playing gear checks. But you also don't want it to feel like completely overbearing on the corp side and it's glacier everywhere, right? In which case, like maybe Toll Booth would be a good card, but then it's probably not the best card in your deck, and maybe you're playing like other like Toll Booth doesn't make the cut. Um, so I think it's easy. It's like nice to be like, if this one card is viable, then the meta is good. But like usually answers aren't that easy. And like I just am thinking like, yeah, if we can see ice like End Pot and Doom Scroll um come up and feel impactful but not overbearing, then it's like, okay, we're probably in a good place. Um
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's a good point of that, you know, that like that mid tier of ice is kind of one of the defining things. I think that's kind of what was drawing me towards MIC is like it's not the most like fu for
Yeah.
even trying to play the game kind of glacier ice, but it's also too big for a gear checky deck. And so it hits in that middle spot. And honestly, it might be part of my reason of like not loving this current meta is it feels like most corps are either running gear checks or screw you, I've got the biggest ice ever printed kind of stuff. Um, but I think
Yep.
that's its own whole thing.
Yeah, suites have gotten very taxed. I think ice suites have gotten very taxed and compressed by presence of Tungsten Tailor and Devil Charm, I guess, too. But
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Yeah, I have to look more at the Mega City data to see what's going on. It's this funny thing where I think it's the meta is evolving. I feel like very sporadically and very it feels very regional at the moment. So it feels hard to get a holistic picture of exactly what's going on. Um, and also like you know it's
yeah,
like
I agree.
uh, I guess the Ashen ban. I was like, oh, Alco is suddenly good and really got no changes. I'm like, oh, actually no, Ashen's a pretty big change for a lot of Alco lists, and like no Seb is a big change for a lot of Alco lists. So
Yeah. No, Seb is definitely like, or less Seb is definitely, I think, the most relevant thing for all corp decks in this format. Um, but yeah, I think like what the is it called jungle? Is that what the
yeah,
like the MiliSU like
yeah,
ganked? I don't understand why it's called jungle, but um recurring bites and ganked and just throwing people into things a bunch of times is like that looks a lot worse with Ashen in the card pool, Seb or not. So
yeah. As crew base as ice structure strategies get stronger, like oh, I put a gank in my deck, but there's actually no ice on the server that the gank is protecting, so kind of oops, feels bad. So
yeah.
cool. Well, uh, Tornel's showing. I feel like Toll Boost was also important to faceplant Yogg builds. I'm not even sure. I don't remember like Yogg builds always were playing Data Sucker. Like that was rarely like oh someone's well okay they were playing one of two things. They were playing Data Sucker. They were playing David, and usually honestly both. Um, so like Tollbooth, I'd never felt like at least at the time was um, relevant for like completely stuffing up Yogg builds. It was just part of the texture. And okay, yeah, chat saying jungle from MOBA as you go through the jungle you get ganked. That makes so much more sense. That's wild. That I did not. I'm sure that was in the description too, and it's just been too long since I've read
As
that and
someone who
forgot
has
about it.
played, yeah, as someone who's played at least like I don't know how many thousands of hours of League of Legends, I'm like, I feel like I should have seen this one. I should have
Yeah,
been able to draw the lines.
very much the same. Yeah, I remember looking up my playtime in League at one point and being very sheepish about it, and then still playing it for another few years. Um, so anyway, uh, why don't we move on to our last question? Especially given how wonky my internet's been, probably not going to go long today. Um, but this last question, we're gonna really gamble because Wentagon sent it in as a voice memo. So we're gonna roll all of the dice and see if I can somehow get this to work while my internet is really fumbling. So give me one moment to get this going.
Hey, Jeff and Safer. Here's a pretty open-ended one for you. What's one thing you think you've done that has made you a better Netrunner player? You can interpret that however you want. That could mean literally winning more games, or some other personal definition of improving your Netrunner play experience. Thanks.
I realize, Safer, you almost certainly did not hear that, but that's probably okay because it is
I didn't, but that's okay.
exactly what he wrote below. Um, I guess let me think about this. I guess I might answer first just to fill some air, and then so I think for me, what has done that's made me a better Netrunner player, either winning more games or improve my experience. I almost feel like they're opposite answers for me. The thing that I've made where I'm like, oh, I want to just have fun with Netrunner has been, all right, I'm gonna actually no, I guess they're maybe the same thing. Um, when I want to build a cute deck, the thing that has made that deck that's like built around a weird idea or a weird card that isn't used, um, like the thing that has made those decks the most fun for me is going, okay, this is the card I'm not allowed to cut under any circumstances. Everything else in my deck has to help me win the game. And I'm allowed to do one or two things. Like, if a card helps me win the game because it has a synergy with that card, it has to be better than the economy card I'm replacing it with. And, like, being very harsh on myself about that, I think helped me make my like jankier exploratory stuff a lot more fun to play, and has been a big thing in helping me just kind of when I want to go and build something funky or different, or like I want to make poetry work, I want to make fully op ASO work when that deck had its periods of being quite bad, like focusing on here's the funky thing I want to do. Everything else has to be ruthless and targeted at winning. Has made the game more fun for me. Um, and then actually getting good at the game was saying, no, Jeff, having fun, being cute is not the goal of the game. Winning is. So like, do the best you can to do that with each decision you're making, which like is boring and not actually helpful advice, but like is sort of the thing that I think pushed me forward the most was being unique and special is not the way to win the most and get the best in Netrunner. It is focusing on the goal of winning, which was a big step for me.
So I think uh the what has made me a better player is actually easier for me to answer part at the moment. Um Easier, and yet I still have multiple answers. So one, joining Cerebus has made me a better player. Um
Oh yeah, that's an easy one that I
but
should have
maybe not.
mentioned.
Yeah, but like maybe not for the reasons that people may think on surface level. It's just I haven't had that much time uh since coming back to Netrunner to really hone in and focus in and try to improve like my play in general. But just being in a group of people that like I don't know, just hanging out with friends and enjoying like talking about the game and like sharing deck lists and sharing thoughts, like that has definitely, I think, had a very large improvement on like me as a player just because I think it's just my own personality. Like I am more motivated when I have other people like around me. And so, you know, I want to do well because I want other people in snare bears to be proud that I'm a snare bear. Do you know what I mean? Um, so like that in of itself gives me the motivation to just be like, no, I'm going to take this seriously. And I think that people who have played me in playtest and then played me in like tournament can tell the difference between uh, no thought, face check everything safer, and like, wow, wait, this dude actually knows how to play the game. Um, but yeah, like try harding, so to speak, and like being in situations where I'm actually try harding, I think has like improved, has let me improve as a player quite a bit, because when I'm just playing on JNet casuals, like there's no stakes. Like I don't have the motivation internally to be like, I'm going to play it like my 100% best. Right. But just playing against like a practice game against a bear, actually will put myself in the mentality to be like, I need to play this as best as I can, because this person is expecting like actual tournament practice from me. Like I'm wasting all of our time if I'm not playing at my best. Um, so like that's that has improved me as a player. I still think I could go a long way in improving my running.
You and me both.
In the same way, going to tournaments. In the same way, going to tournaments. And the last thing on this is like, I think the deck that I was the most confident on was the old like kill combo Thule list from like last year. And the reason why I was confident on that is because I was able to oh, this is sad. This is Man in the Moon's brother, whose name I'm blanking on at the
Santa.
moment.
Well,
Santa,
Santa's his
thank you.
handle, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Santa posted that deck list and shared like 10 replay games, and I had been fooling around with a dual combo deck that was similar, but like hadn't put the exact pieces together, like the orbital and stuff, and was like, oh, this looks right up my alley. I want to bring this to a tournament, so I'm going to practice it. And I sat there and I watched the replays just like click by click, and I was just like, this player's better than me. Like, and they know this deck. What would I do? Right. And I was just like, okay, what would I do this click? What would I do this click? What would I do this click? And every single time, right, if there was a difference, then I would try to think about why they did it, and then that heavily increased like my own understanding of the deck and like the game and how to play it. Um, so yeah, I felt like really, really confident in like actually knowing how to play that deck, and that is one of the reasons why. So watch replays of players that you think are better than you, and then just click by click look at their information and go like, what would I do here? And then see where things differ.
I thought of another thing that made me
What's
both
made my net player okay. Go ahead.
that both
Hmm.
made me a better Netrunner player and enjoy the game more, which was going to more events, both casual meetups and tournaments. I think like just being
Yeah.
going to more things was like there was a very long period of my Netrunner journey where like I would show up to the equivalent of a CTK or whatever, and like it would be maybe the only time I would show up to that group of people, and then I would disappear for 2 months and like play with my roommates at the time in college or whatever, and like I did not get better at Netrunner at all in that period, not like in a very meaningful way. It's like, oh, when I started hanging out with a group of people, going to events more regularly, both casual meetups and like tournament stuff, like that was the thing that made me both like for a while it was like, oh, I was just having more fun because I was making friends and had a consistent activity, and then eventually because I was playing with people who were better than me, I wanted to start having more and more games that were competitive with them, and that like pushed me to get better and better and better. And so I think that's been like the thing that was the thing that got me from mediocre to like good, and then the rest of stuff about like that's where I learned about all the cutting my darlings. Like every card needs to justify what it's doing better than the best econ card, the best multi-axis card, the best ice, like the best whatever you can be putting into it, and looking at deck building and play that way as well. We're all big, but I think that's the end of my
Yeah.
thought.
I like PKC's comment, which is like pick a for deck building, like pick a card and then take that to its limit, like the best deck that you can make around it. And it's finding out the good synergy cards that make sure that card like stays the focal point of the deck. And like what that sometimes means is like you put the quote unquote boring cards in the deck to make the card that you built the deck around maintain like it's fun, because like quote unquote bad cards still need economy to like support them. You know, you're not going to be able to defend your board hole. You're not going to be able to defend your borehole without like having the money to also be able to res ice and pay the 6 credits to res it. So like the best borehole deck is probably one that is not actually cute in other ways. It's probably one that has money and ice and defensive upgrades that just like hard locks a server.
Yeah, like you probably don't. It's the like. There's often a temptation of like, oh, I'm playing Borehole. I should also play like Luna Campos and oh shoot, what's the NBN one? Like Backroom Channel. It's the NBN trap that like removes a bad pub, and I can't remember its name. Increased drop rates.
Backroom, no, not the backroom dealing. Yeah. It's increased drop rates. Yeah.
Yeah. That like, oh, I'll just keep putting
On
all
the
these cards
recording,
in
this
to
is gonna just
synergize.
sound like you said it, and then I said it like 5 seconds later.
It sure does sound like that on the recording. So
I'm
we're
sorry.
apologies to everyone listening. My internet is having just a terrible night, and so Safer is on a multi-second delay for me here, and so yeah, I guess it's when you're doing, if there's a card that's quote unquote cute or bad or you haven't seen people use, like you could build this a couple ways, but like put the strong cards in before you put the other cute synergy pieces in, and only put those in after you feel like you can explain why it's consistently like, don't cut the sure gambles until you can show that a card is consistently better than a sure gamble in your deck. Same idea with a hedge fund on the corpse side. Like, play those good cards. They will make you have more fun with your silly deck as you go along.
Yep.
Cool. Well, given the atrocious lag here, I think we'll probably call it a wrap here. Once again, if you want to submit replays, I'm hoping to actually do a little bit of a replay review of some of my own games, so I slowly get ready and relearn how to play Netrunner again. So you can submit replays. We'll have a thing up for questions. If we get no replays and lots of questions, we'll probably just do questions instead. But there will be a thread up for episode 13 in the Discord. There should be a link wherever you're watching this. And hope to see you all then. And I think that's it. So goodbye, everyone, and goodbye, Safer.
I have one other thing.
Okay.
I have one sign off. Which is, if you're gonna be at the Origins Game Fair, aka Game Convention, I'll be there at the Pink Hawk booth to show people Super Chonk. If you happen to be there, come say hi.
Okay.
That's it.
Hi and goodbye.
Bye, Safer.
Bye, Safer.